friendly toy fans.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Analog Toys live stream. And I wrote a bit of an intro for my guest tonight. He's been on the channel many times before, and I don't know what. It's not like today's any special reason, but I decided just for shits and giggles, I'd write an intro for my guest. So many of you know him as the face of and the brains behind the RetroBlasting YouTube channel. I know him as a true friend, the creator of the single greatest Indiana Jones movie review ever committed to video, a connoisseur of female Australian pop music, an Englishman trapped inside the body of a Yank. Some say he grew an inch taller after feasting on the tears of the anti-repro Star Wars community, and others say that his hand can still fit inside the Fright Zone's rubber snake puppet and that he only eats cucumber sandwiches. It's my friend Michael French of RetroBlasting.
Oh my God. I'm going to just clip that out from my own personal portfolio and just keep it. Thank you so much. That was the best intro I think I've ever received. You do that. That's hilarious. Thanks, man. Really. Thank you so much.
I was inspired by the way Jeremy Clarkson used to introduce the Stig on Top Gear. That's actually where the cucumber sandwich line comes from. I stole that line.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. That was awesome. I really appreciate that.
This is what happens when you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and you're not live streaming until 8. It's 8 a.m. for me, so I had time on my hands.
Well, and the whole thing you were talking about, there's a lot of serendipity going on here because you were talking about the British thing in that intro, and when I came downstairs, it's just kind of cold in the studio because it's winter here, and I keep the aircon low, so or the heater in this case. So I thought, oh God, I can't sit through this live stream cold. What am I going to do? But it was already 7 o'clock. I was late, and I thought, well, whatever's laying over the couch in the TV room, I'll just grab it and I'll whatever that is, because I've got jackets laying all over the house. And of course, it was this one. And I thought, oh my God, I'm about to do a whole show about G.I. Joe and Action Man, and oh, perfect. The stars aligned. Everything's good, you know.
You are dressed like the British Commando or the British Infantryman, as they said, from 1966. I think it came out. Yeah. Well, look, there was a lot of people really excited to know that you were coming back on the show again.
Oh.
A lot of people very excited. As a matter of fact, so excited. Let me just play this clip.
Okay.
Michael from RetroBlasting is going to do the live stream. We're going to talk about 60 years of G.I. Joe. I can't wait to tell everybody. I just can't. Hey, everyone. Michael's going to do the live stream.
Oh my God, yes!
If only. She is perfection personified as a singer and a personality. I would love to meet her one day. Anyway, I'm going to clear my head now. We're going to talk about G.I. Joe.
Well, really quick. When I saw that clip the other day, I was like, I've got to use that at some point. That's a great clip. Would you like, before we get into the G.I. Joe topic, because it is a big topic we're going to discuss tonight, would you like to, for those in the audience who don't know perhaps who that was, or even if they do, what that clip was all about, what Kylie was reacting to? Take it away, sir.
Oh, you'll know better than me. I assume it's because she won the Grammy. That's her Grammy reaction clip, if I recall. Is that right?
Yeah, so I believe she was at the Grammys, but she was performing. So she was backstage getting changed when the category was called out. So she wasn't actually in the crowd. So, which is so Kylie, you know, that's a better way to do it.
Yeah. So I have to assume, because I didn't get to see the ceremony, did they manage to get her on stage to accept the award, or was it one of those things where she couldn't be on stage to get the award because she was changing from her performance? I wonder.
Yeah, she didn't get to go on stage and accept the award. I'm not certain, but I don't think so. Yeah.
So America finally acknowledges her, and then somehow manages to still like slap her around a little bit. Like all right, fair enough, whatever, that's cool. like this is nothing that endless rage and a little bit of determination can't fix for somebody. Anyway, all right.
All right. Look, it's been 60 years since the world was first introduced to the concept of action figures, something that you and I are both very passionate about. We've spent most of our lives collecting different types of action figures.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing preceding, but prior to Joe's introduction in 1964, there was this belief that boys wouldn't play with dolls. So there was a big part of Hasbro's marketing campaign back then was to never use the word doll. It was an action soldier or an action figure.
Mm-hmm.
Just for you personally, Michael, I know you don't collect 12-inch Joe, but do you have any at all, like an Adventure Team or a 60s Joe? Or
I'm not sad to say, but I think it's poetically appropriate. All of the 12-inch Joes that I have are all Action Man.
Good.
I have 3 of them. Yeah, I have 3, and the tank commander that you sent me. I have the SAS soldier from Action Pop Dad. He sent me that, and then I believe, pretty sure you also sent me the British Tommy from.
I did, yes.
Yeah. So those are the 3 that I have. 2 out of the 3 are on display. The other one is with the Scorpion tank, still in his doll box, but he's with the Scorpion tank. So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you picked the Scorpion tank up last year, was it?
Yep, from the booth that was being run by Alan and his friend. Yep, here at Toylanta. Yep.
Yep, a lot of people would know Alan Dawson in the chat here. He's a long-time supporter of the channel. Long-time friend of mine. I've known Alan a long time. 15 years probably I've known Alan. So
it was fun. We got to hang out a day or so after the event was over, and I took him around downtown Atlanta, took him to lunch at the Vortex, and we just chatted, and he's good people. He's a really good guy.
Yep. So for those of you in the audience who aren't aware, the 2nd of February is recognized by most people as G.I. Joe's birthday because it debuted at New York Toy Fair on the 2nd of February, 1964. Mm-hmm. Hasbro don't seem to remember that very well because they tried to make the 1st of February G.I. Joe Day this year. But I was wondering, from your point of view, Michael, for these big anniversaries, normally toy lines commemorate the anniversary in product form. Mm-hmm. There will be an anniversary release, and Hasbro have come out with a couple of 60th anniversary G.I. Joe classifieds, which I'll get into a little bit later. But if you were working on the G.I. Joe design team in the current day, mm-hmm. I know you would probably be worried about your job security, but if put that to one side,
what kind of ideas? Hasbro. I'm just going to start. I'm not going to call it Hasbro anymore. I'm just going to call it Squid Game. Like, Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So if you were on the design team there in the current day, what would be some ideas that you might throw out for a product or a product line to commemorate Joe's 60th anniversary?
I mean, if it was me, because we're in a society now where we rightfully are no longer marginalizing the experiences of military veterans, and we're supposed to be supporting them. In other words, the proper behavior is to support your military veterans. Excuse me. My commemorative range would look like a re-release of a classic historically based soldier that maybe was done during the inaugural year of the toy line, mm-hmm. Maybe with some updates. But then what I would also do is I would also do a current soldier from the military to represent that G.I. Joe has always been about its origins, I should say. we can enjoy and yet at the same time be real about the whole Cobra stuff later, which I like. Don't get me wrong, but the origin of G.I. Joe was doing honor to the true military soldier. And so what I would do is I would do like almost like a bookend where I would say for the first toe dip in the water for the 60th anniversary, we will do the original again. And we will also bring out his modern day counterpart, whoever whatever that is. And then because we're in modern times, I would also make sure that just to tick off the anti-repro people, we get the G.I. Jane nurse in there as well. And then and then on the flip side, we do the modern female soldier, with the male soldier.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be what I would do. I'd do 4 dolls, 2 for the origin, 2 for the present. That would be my idea.
And bit of diversity in the line as well.
Absolutely do them in the different colors, like the different skin colors and stuff, because that as far as
you're a male and a female, just
right.
Even that's diverse these days,
Yep.
That G.I. Joe nurse from the 1960s is like the ultimate holy grail. Like boxed ones sell in like the $12,000 to $15,000 range.
I knew she was high, but I didn't know she was that high.
Yeah, a loose complete, you're looking at 3,000-4,000.
God. Okay.
Yeah, it's one of those items that it's not even on my wish list. It's too far out of the realm of I'm not spending 15 grand on a toy doll. So I've prepared a couple of slides tonight to go through. I really want to take a look back at how Hasbro has commemorated G.I. Joe on other anniversaries, and then kind of do a bit of a dive into where we're at today in 2024. But just before that, we'll catch up on a few super chats. So Jason Anderson, first of all, thank you very much. Jason gifted 10 Analog Toys memberships. Very much appreciated. And Samuel Robles just became a new channel member. So thank you as well. It's Chad. I was reading some social media stuff from Chad just not long before joining the stream that might be related to certain gentlemen on the screen with me. But yeah, check out Chad's Instagram.
I'm like a bad penny.
Good day, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Sorry, Michael.
I said I'm like a bad penny. I always turn up.
Chad says, good day, gentlemen. Apparently, I'm not allowed an opinion on G.I. Joe anymore. Well, not sure I agree with that. We're all entitled to our opinions, Chad. And those who think that the things you say are because you hate G.I. Joe, they've got it all twisted. It's the passion driving a fan who wants a brand to be better. Yeah.
When you're paying attention about a thing that you're interested in to the point that you're self-educated on it, the phrase, if you're happy, you're not paying attention. And a lot of people deliberately don't pay attention. I'm not saying that you're not, like myself, happy on many occasions with your interest, but because you're paying attention, you're going to see when it falters. You're going to see when it trips. You're going to see when it stumbles. So,
yep. Thank you, Chad. And we have V. Connolly. So I've got 2 more hours of dancing, but I just wanted to say there's not a better duo who have a profound love and appreciation of vintage toys. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very kind thing to say. Much appreciated. And we have Darth Wizzy Wizard here with a Canadian super chat. Thank you very much. And Michael Hinkson. Thank you for a very generous super chat there. He says, hello, Tony and Michael from a cold and rainy Reno, Nevada. Glad to join you for a live stream on the 60th G.I. Joe anniversary. Great way to enjoy the biggest storm of the year. When the biggest storm of the year is coming in here. Well, stay safe in the storm. I had been planning a video titled 60 Years of G.I. Joe. I just got busy with work and I pretty much missed the birthday, but then, Hasbro kind of missed Joe's birthday as well. And I'll get into that a bit more as we move along. Thank you, Michael Hinkson. Jason Evangelista says, "Good day, gents, Tony and Michael. Thank you very much, sir." And M Vargo 97, thank you for the super chat. The live stream was very unimpressive. I hope you're talking about Hasbro.
He is. He's talking about Hasbro.
Yeah, I kind of watched it on double speed this morning. But so is the majority of modern Hasbro. Much rather listen to you two who actually care about the brand talk about it. Well, that we are very much going to do, sir. Thank you again for the super chat. Let me just clear all the starred chats here so I can keep up with what's going on. All right, so let's take the time machine back to 1964. Now, the toys you see in this image here, these are from my personal collection. I do have a lot more 60s Joe than this. I'm really fascinated by 1960s Joes. I actually have very, very few. Well, actually, I think from Adventure Team, I've got like one figure and the yellow helicopter. Like that's it. But I've got a lot of 60s Joe. And the way G.I. Joe started in 1964, there were the 4 different action figures, which were based on the 4 different branches of the US military. So you had the soldier, the sailor, the pilot, and the Marine. And then all of the different equipment sets were sold separately. Uniforms, accessories, all of that kind of thing. That's how it started. G.I. Joe died away in the 77, I think it was. The 12-inch Joe kind of died away, and then we had a 5-year hiatus before a Real American Hero was introduced, the 3 3/4-inch line. And it's 2 very, very distinctly different eras of G.I. Joe.
Right.
I'm one of the very unusual collectors who collects both. I love the 3 3/4-inch Joe. I like the 12-inch Joe. But typically, based on when you were born, I've not met many collectors who have that overlap.
Right.
Would you agree with that, Michael?
100% agree. Yep.
Yeah. So to me, when you're trying to commemorate the 60th anniversary, you really need to celebrate the roots of the line, the origin, where it first came from. And Hasbro was doing that for a number of years. So the first time they really celebrated G.I. Joe's anniversary was in 1994. It was the 30th anniversary of the brand. And we got a number of sets like this called the Commemorative Collection. They were 12-inch G.I. Joes with reproduction boxes, a lot of the equipment. It was made to look like an action soldier. Unfortunately, have you ever experienced, had played around with the G.I. Joe Hall of Fame dolls from the 90s?
Yes. Aren't they the ones that they took that lack of articulation and started the Star Wars Power of the Force 2 dolls with those as well, I believe. Yep. They're real. Yep. They're basically like scaled up Kenner action figures from the 70s. Like you're basically getting like a 5 points of articulation doll is what it is. Like they're
Yes, literally that. Like they brought Action Man back in the 90s and did the same thing. Now, Hasbro UK did start to improve the articulation of those figures as time went along, but you can see, the bowling ball hands on this guy. And unfortunately, this is what they did in 1994. They had a really good concept, but they used that Hall of Fame doll body with, the individual fingers. He couldn't put a finger on the trigger of the rifle.
Nope.
They obviously took a little bit of time with the head sculpt. It does look like a 60s G.I. Joe with the scar, but I know a lot of collectors at the time were just like, yeah, this is not for me. They were trying to appeal to that collector group who was into the 60s stuff, but from the neck down, this was not good.
Yeah. It's almost like you buy that just to get the box inside and the accessories.
Yeah. Pretty. I think what a lot of collectors did, they bought it and they just kept them in the box. These are actually really cheap to find today. Still boxed. I wouldn't say they're easy to find, but like when they turn up, they don't sell for a lot because nobody really wants them.
I see. Because I would just think that much like with the Action Man anniversary sets, where the the accessories were really helpful for people, patching their collections back together. I would think that the accessories and the uniform and then just the display box inside there, the recreation of the original box, I think I would have thought those might be appealing to put with a vintage Action Man at some point for somebody's collection. But what do I know?
I mean, some of the accessories were okay. A lot of them were oversized because of the oversized hands and things like that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But this was the first time Hasbro, really celebrated an anniversary. This was for the 30th. Then when we get to the 35th anniversary, it's very much along the lines of the concept that you pitched at the start when I asked you the question.
Oh,
this is what they did for the 35th.
That's really nice.
It is really nice. I don't know why I never picked one up at the time. Well, this was 1999, so
yeah,
I wasn't earning. I was a collector then, but I didn't have a lot of disposable income. I was barely earning minimum wage at the time.
Right.
This is a set that I would love to get today. Is exactly as you said. The figure on the left is a recreation of the Action Soldier from 1964. A very good recreation.
Yep.
With a modern 1999 US military soldier. It's a very nice display set.
Yeah. I'm liking it. And I immediately noticed that unlike the previous one you showed from 94, they found the original body for the original soldier and brought it back. I could tell immediately by the hands. I was like, okay,
yep,
that's the original guy. Wow. That's a real step up. Man.
Yeah, and then they started through the 90s, after G.I. Joe Hall of Fame came out, which nobody really liked G.I. Joe Hall of Fame, but there were so many collectors who were kids in the 60s and 70s who were just happy to see 12-inch Joe back. They started to buy them up, but they were giving the feedback to Hasbro that, we want 12-inch Joe, but we don't want it like this. And they came out with what they called the Classic Collection throughout the 90s, where they were doing things like Australian Jungle Fighters, and they had slightly improved that original Hasbro body, but it wasn't quite the same. And then it's around this time, 1999, when they started to do the Timeless Collection, and the Timeless Collection was very, very accurate. The bodies, the hands really looked like 60s G.I. Joe.
Yep.
And it was successful for many years. Throughout the 90s and the early aughts, 12-inch Joe was everywhere. It was a good time to be a 12-inch collector. So, then we get to the 40th anniversary, which was 2004. And Action Man did a very similar thing for his 40th anniversary, which was 2 years later, where you would get, again, very good recreations of the original figures, and they would come packed in with one of the different uniform and equipment sets from back in the day. So we've gone from the 30th to the 35th to the 40th anniversary. I did some research yesterday. I couldn't find anything for the 45th anniversary. I don't think G.I. Joe was really in vogue at that time. That would have been 2009.
Right.
I believe they were doing, the 25th anniversary of G.I. Joe, the 3 3/4 at the time. But you can see, as we've gone through here, it's all been about celebrating that original 12-inch Action Soldier, pretty much.
Yep.
Every commemoration. And then for some strange reason, in 2014, for the 50th anniversary, are you familiar with what they did?
I feel like it was like was it like the basic soldier, or was it like the Navy guy or something? I can't remember. It was something really weird. I think I remember seeing it, and I was like, what?
Oh, they did this.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, I was getting it confused with another commemorative product. Okay, yes. I remember seeing these in Toys R Us.
So after 3 anniversaries where they're celebrating the original 12-inch Joe,
for
the 50th anniversary, they went with a Real American Hero 3 3/4. Now, this is 2014, the 50th anniversary. And then 2 years ago, we had the 40th anniversary of a Real American Hero. It's all over.
Right.
And I remember that because Hasbro sent me this.
Yep. And the entire reason they started the 2007 line was because it was the 25th anniversary of Real American Hero.
So, this is very much my point. If they're going to celebrate the anniversary of a Real American Hero from 1982, so which they did 2 years ago, they did for the 25th, they did for the 30th. Why, when they celebrate the 50th, did they not go back to the original again? Because it's kind of like it's kind of like me and Grace. Me and Grace got married. We had our legal wedding here in Australia in 2012. And then in 2013, we had a kind of unofficial wedding ceremony in Thailand. So we have 2 anniversaries.
Right.
This is very much the same for G.I. Joe. So I don't know why in 2014 they did the 50th, but made it an anniversary for a Real American Hero. Am I just being petty there, or
No, it doesn't make any sense, especially given that by this point, it seems like the reason they did this, I would imagine, is because they already had everything in place from the years and years they'd been doing the relaunched 3 3/4 inch Real American Hero, and so they just did this as a layup rather than break out. Because Hasbro's lack of ambition has been epidemic in all these intervening years. So this is the beginning of their corner cutting. This is the beginning of their low effort, and this, of course, is right around the time that they wanted everybody to just forget about G.I. Joe anyway. G.I. Joe had become this albatross around their neck for some reason in their own offices. In the offices of Squid Game, they decided that G.I. Joe Real American Hero was horrible, and they didn't want anything to do with it. I mean, hell, it had become a Toys R Us exclusive by that point, and Toys R Us was a dying store. So, yeah.
So of course, it didn't surprise me when they announced towards the end of last year that for the 60th anniversary of G.I. Joe, it would be 6-inch classified. That didn't surprise me. Now, I know I'm going to do a big shout out to Chad here. Chad is frequently lamenting the lack of 1/18 scale, 3 3/4 inch G.I. Joe. But this is the 60th anniversary of the 12-inch Joe, and I know that there was a real resurgence in popularity of 12-inch Joe throughout the 90s and into the 2000s, and then you started to see things like BBI and Dragon Models doing a lot of 12-inch World War II Joes. It was all kind of a knock-on effect of the reintroduction of the 12-inch Joe. Pretty much because those people who were kids in the 60s and 70s, that's when they hit, their mid to late 30s into their 40s, when you have a bit more disposable income. They were the collectors who had money in their pocket.
Right.
Nowadays, people are moving on, or they've been collecting for 20 years. They've moved on from it. And now it's our Star Wars generation who are, the biggest group of collectors out there, and 12-inch did really die away. But I do strongly believe that I'm not suggesting that Hasbro should come out with an entire range of 12-inch Joe, but I would have thought that a 12-inch G.I. Joe, even one 12-inch G.I. Joe, if you did a really good one to commemorate the 60th anniversary, would be excellent. When I was watching Chad's live stream yesterday or the day before, he had Greg on, who is the host of the DFW G.I. Joe show, also the man behind Cotswold Collectibles that sells a lot of 12-inch Joe stuff. I asked him a question: what would he do if the same question I asked you? If he had a hand in product development at Hasbro, what would he do to commemorate the 60th? And he had a really good idea, and that would be to recreate the 1965 G.I. Joe Green Beret, which came in this beautiful window box set. with the beret, the M16, the field radio, all of that kind of thing. But this year we get 60th anniversary Joes that are not really going to appeal to the guys who've been collecting since the beginning. The look on your face is dynamite. You look like you just sniffed cat shit.
And I am familiar with that as well. Look, I'm not saying what I'm about to say as a joke. I'm not saying what I'm about to say to try and score points with anybody. Can we finally put it to rest that Hasbro is officially chasing Valaverse Action Force at this point? Like, yeah. I'm not saying they're chasing it well, but they're chasing it. These, I mean, yes, they are generic soldiers as far as like the recon diver and the infantry guy. But these don't, aside from that little logo, it doesn't really feel like a love of the history of the brand. And I don't mean that to say like, why didn't they do a World War II guy or anything like that? I don't mean it like that at all. I mean that there doesn't seem to be a lot of spark and inspiration here. It feels like, you know what it feels like? It feels like the team at G.I. Joe had to be told, this is the history of the brand you work on. These were the figures from back in the day. They were really tall and they weren't named after any fictional character. There were no ninjas, and we need to do something to acknowledge the 60th. It feels very paint by numbers. I'm not saying that the accessories aren't nice in there. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm sure it's great to have army builders. Unfortunately, with Hasbro's current prices, there's no way you can really army build these unless you just want to, you know, go into debt. But this, to me, there's cool things about these two figures, but as far as it being 60th anniversary, I ain't seeing it. I don't. This feels like a layup. It just, in other words, if you took the 60th anniversary logos off those boxes and just put those out as part of the classified line, would anybody have really seen them as anything special? And I would say no. This is why everybody hates me, because I'm studying this stuff and going, whatever, you know.
I feel pretty much everything you just said is really how I felt when I first saw this. So they called it the Action Soldier, they called it the Action Sailor. As I said, the classified line is about it's about a real American hero.
Mm-hmm.
They had a 40th anniversary 2 years ago. Now, two years later, we're having a 60th anniversary, and it just rang hollow to me that there wasn't anything out there for the people who had been fans of this for 60 years,
right?
Because it's not just about celebrating the brand itself. It's about giving back to the people who have supported that brand.
Yep. And
if you're going to have two anniversaries, when you're celebrating the one that originated in the 60s, you've got to look at those fans and, you know, those people who were children back in those days. They're not going to want this. This is not going to fit into a 12-inch collection.
Right.
Yeah, and there's really just nothing special about it. Now, the other thing that kind of bugs me about these is that G.I. Joe's birthday, as I mentioned before, was the 2nd of February. Some people are getting this Action Sailor in hand. The Action Soldier, no one's got it yet. There was a bunch of G.I. Joe reveals on what they called G.I. Joe Day, which they said was the 1st of February, not the 2nd of February. Anyway, there have been a lot of rumors going around that they were going to complete the quartet with the Action Marine and the Action Pilot. They were not announced, not even name only reveals that they do now, and then digital render reveals, and they do all these reveals at different stages now. They were not revealed on G.I. Joe Day on the 1st of Feb. That's when we got digital renders of Jinx and Doc and Torch.
Right.
So there was another live stream this morning, which I was asleep for. I caught the replay. And I'm like, well, it's a leap year. You know, we don't get the 29th of Feb very often. It's the last day of February. It's the last day of the month of G.I. Joe's 60th birthday. We're going to at least get digital render reveals of the Marine and the pilot. Nothing.
Well, when every department at Hasbro has, had 40% of their personnel just disappear overnight because of,
yeah,
you don't have anybody left to finish these things out by deadline. And more than likely, they're probably slashing intended planned products as well in order to shore up cash. Because, those executives, they got to get those fat bonuses for saving money every quarter. So I mean, how much money do you think they're saving by letting Super 7 do the G.I. Joe toys instead of them? I'm actually shocked that Hasbro hasn't just announced a cancellation of the classified series for this. Like, Hasbro as a company right now is the type of company that would celebrate the 60th anniversary by canceling the classified line and just letting Super 7 make a bunch of subpar G.I. Joe toys. This here has no passion. And I'm not saying, look, I want to be clear about something to everybody in the chat. I'm not saying that these figures might not be okay. As Tim Ward so astutely pointed out, the accessories are probably bendy, rubbery garbage. But maybe the figures, the base figures, are okay if you get some Valaverse weapons pack stuff with them. I'm not saying the figures themselves are bad. I'm saying as a 60th anniversary package, this lacks passion. This doesn't have that part of the spark. If you're going to say this is 60th anniversary, then you've got to step up to the plate and take a harder swing.
Yeah. So I would say that I do see passion in this, but it's not passion for the brand or the anniversary. The passion is for chasing Valaverse.
Yeah,
that's the passion that went into this. And G.I. Joe's 60th birthday was a side note, unfortunately. So Joe's birthday has come and gone. Collectors have only got one of these two figures in their hands. They're not getting, so far, they're not going to get the Marine and the pilot. And if they do, if it comes in another 6 months, it's not really a 60th anniversary celebration, is it? No one likes getting a birthday present 6 months after the fact because somebody forgot.
Yeah.
Especially your parents, and
right. And that's the weird part about seeing these is that I saw your review on Mutton Junkyard, and I know that they've just announced this other one, Naugahyde or somebody with these.
Yeah, Naugahyde, yep.
Wild Boar and something else. So they are doing these boxes with these deluxe figures with a ton of accessories or whatnot. I'm not saying that that's not in and of itself a better effort than what they've done with some of the past classifieds. The problem with Hasbro is a lack of consistency from product to product and the constant price hikes. So like there's all these different, like, there's no like basic figure and then a deluxe. Like this is not a basic figure, but it's not quite a deluxe figure, but it's something in the middle. And they're going to use that excuse to charge more money for this than what it's worth.
They're calling them deluxe. I don't think that they have much more than, it's just what comes with a standard Valaverse figure. I mean, the Valaverse figure, you get the hand. These haven't got the hands. These have got obviously the alternate heads, so they can either be Caucasian or dark skinned. That's what Valaverse has been doing with all of their troopers. These are the first 2 G.I. Joe classified figures to come with removable assault vests.
Ah, okay.
Which we've been asking for a long time. Like, why make the vests on the figures it's a separate piece on all of the figures previously, but you couldn't get them off without boiling and popping arms and shoulders, and you literally had to heat the figure up in hot water, pop all the limbs off to get a vest off, and and they're not interchangeable on different figure bodies and that kind of thing. So
right,
yeah, interesting. I'll catch up on some super chats. Brian Dillingham, thank you for the Dillinghamism that today is worth 2 flag points. Much appreciated. Just Jeff, thank you. He says, Tim Tams and a beer, my good sir. Hope you're well. Thank you. I've got some Tim Tams in the fridge, actually, Jeff. How's your Tim Tam supply going, Michael?
Dead in the water. I've consumed all the Tim Tams, and now we're working our way through the Cadbury bars and some other things. I've got double deckers and Chamalos, pink and whites, and a number of flakes and other things that I'm trying to work my way through. And the sad part is while Tim Tams are obviously a confection, they're not as immediately dangerous to the waistline as these other things I've just mentioned. So it's almost like you got to ration those out. It's like, yeah, I really can't have, a double decker every day, like, even though, it's better to forget about them for a month and then come back,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, when George Aitken sends me double deckers, I do have one every day. Grace pops one in my lunch bag when I go to work.
but see, you're not only going to work, but then you're also spending your free time going out into the bush with a drone and making like videos that actually take physical effort. Whereas I'm sitting back going, yeah, I'm just going to walk over to that table and talk to Broken Vader for a few minutes and then film that. And so it can catch up with me faster than I want to admit. So I have to be careful.
Alejandro asked a question here. Have they ever done Civil War Joes? I highlighted this because yes, they did. I can't remember if it was in the Classic Collection or the Timeless Collection, but they did do some Civil War Joes. I want to say they did a few Generals, but only in the 12-inch line, never in 3 3/4, and certainly not in. I mean, Hasbro in this day and age in 6-inch is not going to come out with any American Civil War stuff.
Oh, okay. That was my question. I was like, which Civil War are we talking about? I was like, because I had this image in my head. I was like, oh my God, you telling me they did like Roundheads and Oliver Cromwell and stuff? Like, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, they have done some American Civil War, definitely some Generals. They did a lot of interesting stuff throughout the 90s, which if you weren't in that collecting field at the time, you probably wouldn't have heard of a lot of what they did. So they did a whole series of Medal of Honor winners where they would actually Francis S. Curry and all different people like this who they would do a G.I. Joe and dress him and equip him in the same way of a particular Medal of Honor recipient, with a beautiful window box, and it would have a write-up for from when the soldier was awarded the Medal of Honor and that kind of thing. That was a great line, which I actually collected at the time. Don't have them anymore. I don't know what happened to them. It's over our collecting lives. Some toys come and some go.
Yep.
Headcanon, thank you for the super chat. He says, maybe if they went all in and did a pilot and a marine as well. Well, they've been saying that they were going to, and I thought we were going to get at least a digital render reveal on the 1st of Feb, and we didn't. So then I thought, we're definitely getting it today. And then I woke up and I was like, I'm really glad I've kind of zeroed in on the topic of this live stream with Michael, because they haven't. They've failed. They've left their poor boy Joe at his birthday party with no present. Such a bad lot of parents, Hasbro. And Headcanon says, but that has been the problem all along. They just do things halfway and half-assed. Yeah, that's what I'm looking on the screen here with these two. So I'm not saying they're bad figures, but just nothing about it screams 60th GI Joe to me. Nothing.
Right. Tony, I after we were talking about the Civil War things a second ago, and I'm seeing some comments in the chat. It may not be the worst thing in the world. Might even be fun for us to reconvene at some point on either of our channels, doesn't matter which one, and do a Action Man / GI Joe 12-inch military figures of any engagement of any time in history that we wish could have been made. Like, no matter how esoteric,
Ooh,
you know, like, I mean,
yes.
yeah. Like, I kind of want like a historically accurate Guy Fawkes GI Joe
Yeah.
Action Man guy with like the dynamite and the gunpowder barrels and stuff. Like, if people be like, "What's that?" I'm like, "It's Guy Fawkes." Oh,
It still astounds me to this day that they never did an Action Man Robin Hood.
right.
It's
Yeah.
not like anyone owns the copyright to Robin Hood. It's public domain after so many centuries.
Right. Like, I would love an
Quintessentially British, you know.
I would love an Action Man, you know, Richard the First. I would love an Action Man, William Marshall, Earl of Pembroke. You know, like, I would love that kind of stuff. I would love an Action.
You know what?
What's that?
Let's do that live stream one day, because let me reach out to Greg. Greg Hughes was a designer at Palatoy from the late 70s through to the early 80s.
Mm-hmm.
There's a video that I've wanted to make for more than 12 months where Greg has sent me a whole bunch of behind the scenes stuff. Just haven't got around to making the video, but Greg also used to do a lot of concept art for for Action Man, that they would go into pitch meetings. And in the early, either like 79 or 1980, he was pitching an Action Man line that went back way further than World War II. We're talking about British medieval knights and things like that. And I have some of his concept art, which I'm sure he told me I could always make this video. So I'm sure he would let me share it on a stream. So yes,
man, yeah. And then like maybe like eventually have like an Action Man GI Joe of just like a caveman named Og, and then in parentheses underneath it, you know, it comes with a club and a rock, and it says the first person to kill in self-defense. Like,
they made some really weird figure for the French GI Joe Action Man line. I can't remember his name, but he was kind of like that. He was like in a loincloth with a toothy necklace and a spear. I can't remember what his name was. Yeah.
Was his name Pete Bog? Like, was that like a
Stig of the Dump? John Papa Sergio, thank you very much for the super chat. He says they also made these in 3 3/4 inch for another anniversary decades ago, exclusive to a store, but forgot which one. The diver came with a raft. Yeah, I remember that now. They did. And I actually think for the 30th anniversary, along with that, you know, the big goofy doll that they did a bunch that they took like the Action Pilot, Sailor and Marine, shrunk them down to 3 3/4 inch O-ring, but made them key rings. So it was a 3 3/4 inch action figure, but it had a key ring screwed into it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was weird. Thank you, John Papa Sergio. And Brian Dillingham says, will this live stream end with a PSA? As a matter of fact, it's going to end with a PSA. I'm glad you brought this up, Brian, because I've been having so much fun talking to Michael and playing clips of Kylie and doing funny intros that I forgot about a very, very special announcement that I want to make. Next Saturday, the 10th of March, I will be at Collector Zone Toy Fair in Joondalup, which is north of Perth. So for any of my viewers who are in Western Australia, I'm not only going to be at the show. When I unboxed that Ewok Village yesterday, I turned around. I have nowhere to put anything. Grace is annoyed because she came home and it was on the dining room table.
Right.
She's like, you need to get rid of some stuff. And I was like, I'm going to contact my friend Chris and see if there is a booth available and someone had just dropped out and I've known him for years, and it's you always bring good stuff. I'm going to be making the 18-hour drive from Port Hedland to Perth on Thursday, Friday to go to the collector show. I'm taking a lot of stuff to sell, and I don't want to bring it back to Port Hedland,
right?
Which means I'm selling cheap.
Wow.
So for anyone who is in Perth, Western Australia, come and say hi at the show. Pick up some bargain. I'm selling my entire Motu Origins collection, a bunch of other vintage bits and pieces. There'll be all sorts of stuff. Star Wars Black Series, vintage. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Well, and you said it's which weekend is it?
It's next Saturday. I've got here. Here we go.
See, I would be crazy enough if I literally didn't have a commitment that I promised somebody else to do on that Saturday. That's the kind of thing where I'd muse to myself and go, maybe I just fly all the way out there and surprise Tony at his booth. And then,
I knew I should have bought that HasLab Dragonfly. I could have saved on shipping.
Oh man,
yeah, it's been a long time since I've been to this show. They've actually changed location from when I used to go to this show to a much better location. It's not far from where my dad lives, so yeah, I'll be there setting up early Saturday morning, and either just come by and say hi or come by and grab a bargain, because as I said, I do not want to drive back to Port Hedland with all the stuff I'm taking down there. So
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all.
All right, did I catch up on all the super chats? Yes, I did. Thank you, everyone who sent a super chat. So let's have a bit more of a look at these two figures. So this is the Action Soldier. I've got a lot of concerns about that 50 caliber machine gun because of the type of plastic that they make their barrels out of. One thing I do like about this, I mentioned to you before, they have made the vest removable. They've also made all the pouches, as you see just on his left-hand side there, or our left, his right. All the pouches come off the vest. It's got like a plug system, and you can change the configuration. I think they've just done that with their new reveal of Doc. But the assault rifle and the light machine gun on the right-hand side are the exact same ones that came with Big Ben. And everyone knows how I feel about them from my Big Ben video. And a poncho, a soft goods poncho.
I was noticing the poncho. That's kind of the standout feature along with the hood. Is there like a compartment on the back end? Like, in other words, did they pull like a Valaverse where the backpack opens from the other side? Maybe you can put the poncho in there. Oh, well,
that is, I believe that is the same backpack that came with Outback. You can't open it. So there is a pocket on the front of the poncho which he can probably put his plastic dog tags in. They've given him dog tags. That is like the one nod to the 60s, Joe, I think, is, we gave him dog tags. But this is the figure that is not yet in collector hands as far as I'm aware. However, this one has been turning up. A lot of people have got this figure in their hand. Not Top Goon is one of them. Now, interestingly, I've watched a number of reviews of this figure, and the more reviews that I watched, the more I wanted to keep watching. Not because I'm interested in the figure. It seemed like every single review of this figure that I have seen on YouTube is saying that it is the best classified figure to date. Because people like they like all the removable gear, the customizability of it all. Isn't it interesting that, I don't know whether they're speaking for the community as a whole. You can't tell. It's only a bunch of YouTubers that I've listened to, but I've listened to probably 10 or 12 different reviews. And isn't it interesting that what they're saying is the best classified figure in the line so far is not a real American hero character?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I thought you were going there, and I agree because when you just keep punching out the same figures over characters, I should say, over and over and over again over a 35-year period, that ink blotter for that stamp is going to start fading. It's going to start getting a little dry on the next stamp. So it's and like I said earlier, when you showed the packaged versions, I didn't have any immediate repulsion or issue with the figures themselves. I was just thinking about them in the context of 60th anniversary commemoration, and it was like, well, as far as the figures go, I mean, yeah, these are the only thing that worries me about these are the price tag from Hasbro.
I'm trying to remember what I think they were 35.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember being surprised that because the soldier comes with soft goods, I thought it would actually be a little bit more, but I want to say these were 35 each. Let me just verify that. I'm sure the chat's probably already told me. Yeah, they were $35 each. Which is, $5 more than a Valorverse figure.
Right.
Doesn't have all the alternate hands.
Yep.
I would say it's quite comparable with the amount of equipment that comes with it to a Valorverse figure. Not a deluxe Valorverse figure, a standard Valorverse figure.
Right.
Which are now $29.99, and this is $34.99. So
yep.
But yeah, just seeing how the community really, really likes this figure. It's the best figure they've done so far. Makes me wonder if the classified line wouldn't be better off going in a fresh direction and forget about the characters of a real American hero, because people want modern day Navy SEALs and modern day Rangers and 10th Mountain Division and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing how Hasbro missed that mark. And I've said it in previous videos, when they first came out with Wave 1, they didn't satisfy the military imperative nor the nostalgia imperative for Real American Hero. They tried to do this goofy, fictional video game looking thing, and it didn't resonate with anyone. And I said in a video that nostalgia is like a glider. In other words, it's being pulled down by gravity. It's only going to stay in the air for so long. So doing the nostalgia thing with classified, while it is the short-term win, which eluded them for Wave 1, it was probably not the best long-term plan. So unless they felt like they'd be able to capture just enough people outside our generation with the nostalgic stuff somehow, and then transition them over to this stuff, they should have been doing new. What it should have been was, well, we did 12-inch realistic military in the 60s and then Adventure Team in the 70s, which is essentially still based in some kind of realism. Then we did the 3 3/4-inch stuff in the 80s, and not including any commemorative anniversary stuff, but that was 3 3/4-inch Cobra versus G.I. Joe, Real American Hero. For this new 6-inch scale, we should flip the paradigm and go back to the realistic military stuff. And they weren't willing to do that at first. And now they're playing catch up. So,
yeah, I mean, initially it was, gold shin pads and tuning forks.
Yep.
Roblox weapon that time. Pair of hair straighteners or whatever it was he had. So, yeah. Drew G here says, he doesn't mind the characters being reused. He just wants modern takes. And I know what he's saying here, because they did a modern take with the first wave, but I don't think that's what Drew's talking about. It's realistic modern, not fantasy modern. And the retro carded ones can look like the originals, but their modern ones look too much like the retros. Yeah, so they're doing this whole retro carded series now, where they're going back and they're redoing some early mistakes like Duke and Scarlet, and they're doing them retro carded, making them look retro. But the rest of the line has pretty much gone retro anyway, so I don't. It's a little bit confusing. I've got some other slides I'm going to show shortly of some of the stuff they announced today. I want to get your thoughts on some new packaging in a moment. But Cosmic J, thank you for the super chat. He says pork chop sandwiches.
You know what that means, don't you? Do you know that reference, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I figured you did.
Yeah, but it's all about the cucumber sandwiches today. I got
Damn right, as it should be.
Yes, yeah.
Cucumber sandwiches don't mess with your tract.
No. Did you see any of the reveals today?
I did not. That's why I kept myself spoiler free for this live stream.
Okay, well, so the first couple of figures I'm going to show you, this is what was announced back on February 1st. They revealed digital render reveals, and then today we got, well, actually the images were leaked yesterday. So these went up for pre-order today. There was a few other figures as well. There was Torch and the Night Creeper. I don't have slides for all of those, but
right.
Okay. Weirdly, I want to get Doc because I want the stretcher.
Yep.
Like I'm probably going to pay $25 for a stretcher.
Yep.
And you can see that. You see the hole in the front of his vest. That's where the pouch can unplug, and you can swap it around. So you can put the pistol holster in the front instead, or one of the pouches. But Michael, I something tells me that you've got some things to say about Jinx.
You are correct.
You have the floor, sir.
I don't own many classifieds. The only ones I do own are the classic ladies, and in their most retro design. Literally beyond that, I don't have any classifieds, and I've only got the classic ladies. I don't have that blonde ninja girl that came out or whatever. I don't have her, but I was really happy that they did a retro Scarlet finally, so I pre-ordered that. I don't know when that's shipping. That's the pre-orders with Hasbro. If I ever pre-order something, I pre-order it and then I forget about it, and then one day it shows up on my doorstep. So I did that. But the ones that I was holding out for were Shooter and Jinx, and I know Shooter came out. I haven't gotten her yet. I guess she was a fan channel exclusive or something. I don't remember.
Amazon or something like that. She was an exclusive. Yeah.
So I haven't gotten her. And one of the reasons that I held back was because of the same thing they've done with Jinx, which is they took Shooter and they decided to Action Force her up. Now, I got no problem with the Action Force line. As you know, you've seen my videos on it. Action Force has its own brand identity. It differentiated itself from the Hasbro rank and file G.I. Joe military characters, which also have their own legacy appeal. So when I saw Shooter and I saw Rock and Roll classified, and I think it was Clutch. Yeah, it might be Clutch. Suddenly they're adding all these arm tattoos to these characters. And I'm going, that kind of seems like they're trying to chase Valaverse. Like this just, I don't know, Hasbro. Like I don't trust that you're just trying to shake things up. So with Jinx here, one, Jinx is supposed to have long sleeves. She's got long sleeves that end in, her, I don't think she had gloves, but she's got long sleeves. But to have these short sleeves and now have this sleeve tattoo again, I'm like, how many more of these characters are going to do this to try and chase that Valaverse heroine? Like, how many more of them are going to do that?
That is literally Warpath Eclipse's arm with the wrap, the tattoo all of the way up. Literally, and what they'll do, they will re-release this figure with sleeved arms for a retro card version. That's what they'll do. I don't mind the face sculpt on it. I actually think the Jinx face sculpt the digital render looked a little bit better. I like this, but then I've seen some of their photography with the masked head on, and it looks awful.
Oh,
It looks too the masthead looks too small for
right.
the body,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, her mask in the original line looked like soft serve ice cream. Her head.
Yes.
Because it had that.
Yeah.
And again, it was because there was a cloth top. It tried to create that cloth top look. And I was cool with that as a kid. I liked that. So it's really too bad that they didn't try and recreate that with the masked head. It would have helped with her proportions.
Yeah. Yeah, it would. Jason Anderson says, wait, Doc has weapons. Apparently it's, well, I can tell one of them is a flare gun. Apparently the other one's supposed to be a taser.
Right.
So non-lethal weaponry there for Doc. Yeah, I really want that stretcher, you know, to put in the back of my Vanguard, and it's a nice, cool bit of equipment. They did show an image. Obviously, you can see there where it folds in half, and he carries it on his back. Fortunately, those type of stretchers in the modern military, they fold up and then they fold in half again.
Oh,
kind of end. That's how they're carried around. I know that would be a bit challenging to make in action figure form, but that's where the lack of ambition comes in. Like, I'm pretty sure Valaverse, if they were going to do it, were like, well, no, in real life, it folds and then folds again. We need to figure out how to do that, and they wouldn't put the product out until they'd sussed it out, you know. So it's a little bit like me buying Snow Job just because I wanted the skis and ski poles, and even though the skis are completely incorrect, but you'll find out more about that in a video coming next week. But yeah, so these figures, they were, I believe it was digital render reveals released on the 1st of February, and pre-orders went up today. So on the live stream today, they had a lot more photography of the figures, and they went up for pre-order. Now, brace yourself, Michael.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to show you these two figures now in their packaging. There you go, audience. He smelt cat shit again. Does that look like Star Wars Black Series packaging?
Yes, it looks like Star Wars Black Series packaging meets like a carbon fiber sports car wrap.
Yeah.
And again, I get accused all the time of just trying to be contrary and trying to find things to hate. As you know, I've never done that. But once again, I don't see, obviously they've gone back on the whole windowless packaging thing. So, you know, there's that. But at the same time, I don't see these really popping on a shelf unless most of these they plan to just sell direct to consumer from Hasbro Pulse and online retailers. Like maybe packaging. Obviously, they need windows for mint and box collectors, but beyond that, maybe they're just not wanting to put effort into the packaging anymore. It's like Black Series meets carbon fiber bodywork meets a little bit of Tron. I don't know.
Yeah, I was really. It's just very, very uninspired. But I do believe the G.I. Joe Classified it's not exclusively like online only now, but that's obviously where they sell it. So perhaps they don't feel like they need to put the effort into it.
Why did they shape the window on the box to look like a mobile phone SIM card?
Because you're going to have room for the star on the side. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Andrew Sabina says that packaging just screams, ignore me. Yep. Yeah, and George Aiken says the only place that will sell these in the UK will be on Hasbro Pulse. G.I. Joe Classified, the first wave came to Australia, where you had, you know, the gold shin pads. You had Duke, Scarlet, Roadblock, Snake Eyes, and Destro, the first 5 figures. They came to Australia, and then for some reason we got Pimp Daddy Destro everywhere here. I was in Perth 2 weeks ago, and there are still rows and rows and rows of Pimp Daddy Destro on the shelf. G.I. Joe Classified sold so poorly at retail in Australia, it never got past the first wave. Which is weirdly what all the haters said, that Valorverse would never get past Series 1. Yeah.
Wow.
I know Valorverse isn't at retail, but yeah. G.I. Joe did not go well down under. It really didn't.
Yeah, it's amazing too to see Hasbro's distribution inconsistency. I'm always fascinated by the tales you've told over the years of what peg warmed over there that we couldn't even get over here. Like, I didn't care about the G.I. Joe stuff as far as buying it, but I knew what people were looking for that they couldn't get. And similarly with certain Marvel Legends and Black Series as well, but especially with the G.I. Joe, you guys seem to end up being you seem to be forced to drink from the fire hose of Hasbro's failures to get them evenly distributed to other parts of their market. It's crazy.
So now we'll move on to the reveals for this one. I don't think I grabbed screenshots of everything from today, but here are the new announcements, which I really thought was going to be, as I said earlier, the Marine and the Pilot to round out that 60th anniversary collection. But during the month of G.I. Joe's birthday, no, we got Retro Beachhead.
There's a lot of people that love Beachhead. Before you guys jump I don't hate Beachhead at all. People think when I say things like that I'm about to say I hate Beachhead. I don't have a problem with Beachhead. He's never done anything to me. I'd have a beer with him if I, got to hang out with him. So like the thing about this one though, and again, I'm just being a little like sarcastic or whatever, but if these are truly like nostalgia plays for the collector, the adult collector, this particular figure should have come with an optional broken crotch.
I would have bought that.
Right? Me too. I'd have been like, yeah, I have the ladies of G.I. Joe and I've got Beachhead. That seems random. Nah, it came with a busted crotch option. Pretty awesome. Like, because I know that now we're in a stage where the 3 3/4-inch Joes of the past are all brittle and a lot of them have the broken crotch issue. But Beachhead had it all the way back when he was new. Like, he is the most notoriously easily broken crotch in the whole collection. So
did you see Ryan's comment here? Sorry.
Sandy. It's Sandy. I mean, every time they play that clip from Here to Eternity, I'm like, that's not comfortable or hot at all.
Yeah. Oh no.
Yeah.
No. I hate sand.
Yeah.
It's coarse. It gets everywhere.
As much as we make fun of that line, when we apply it to our real lives, we're all like, yeah, I feel you, Anakin. I really do. Like, actually,
Venkman says, so Michael likes Beachhead more than Shipwreck.
Oh yeah. 100%.
Everybody.
Yeah. Like,
I like Sci-Fi more than Shipwreck.
Right.
At least he looks like RoboCop's fluorescent cousin.
RoboCop's oxygen club cousin. Yeah. Beachhead. I did like Beachhead better. He was first of all, he was actually in the comic because Larry Hama created him and didn't hate him like Hasbro's creation of Shipwreck. And then also in the cartoon, at least he was present and he was an idiosyncratic personality like a lot of people in the cartoon, but that was just to make everybody distinct. But otherwise, I didn't think he was obnoxious or anything. So
Jason Anderson says Shipwreck doesn't even like Shipwreck.
Jason Anderson is correct.
Yeah.
Shipwreck is a self-loather, 100%.
So the original classified Beachhead, that was one of those Target exclusive, Cobra Island. There's so many labels to this stuff. A Target exclusive, classified series, Cobra Island, Beachhead. That's a mouthful of Beachhead. So that was the first version they did. He was very, very hard to get.
Yep.
He sells for a ridiculous amount on the secondary market. So they've now come back and gone, right, we're going to do the retro version. We're going to make him retro.
Right. But
so this is a retro card reveal. Sorry?
Yeah, but no, I was just going to say, but even the classified Beachhead they came out with first, people were pretty happy with him as a representation of Beachhead. I don't recall anybody being really upset with the way he was designed.
No, but people were upset about the weapons.
Okay.
But the actual figure, it was all good. But, this is what they're doing now with the retro cards. They're taking early mistakes like Duke and Scarlet from Wave 1 and Beachhead from Cobra Island and correcting their mistakes.
I still haven't seen the retro carded classified Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes. I've never seen them in person. Not once.
Like in stores?
Yeah, in stores. Yeah.
So they kind of Hasbro kind of create their own set of rules when they're developing these products. So it's retro card is taking a modern version that potentially wasn't that successful or that well liked, and then making it literally look like the original figure from the comics, cartoons, and toy line. So the second retro card reveal today was the eel, which is apart from the addition of a stand, is exactly the same as the eel that came out last year. There is no difference. So how is this now retro carded when there's no change?
To quote a wise man from The Simpsons, but she's got a new hat. That's the philosophy there. I agree with you 100%. That's a really weak showing. You could have made him, I don't know, some kind of like officer version of him or something. But yeah, they're just trying to put out re-release a troop builder, I guess.
Well, I mean, the eel, I believe, was an Amazon exclusive or maybe a Pulse exclusive, and it was very, very hard to get. I was lucky to get one thanks to Laserpants. Laserpants got one for me and sent it my way, and it's a pretty cool figure for a G.I. Joe classified. So I think this is a way for them to bring it back out, because a lot of it's a troop builder that was very, very hard to get, sold out very quickly. So I think they're trying to appease the fans there.
Have they done a classified Night Landing yet?
No, I kind of hope they don't, because I keep asking Bobby to make that. I'm like, Bobby, that's an ideal set. Like, it doesn't even need a huge amount of packaging. You put a dinghy in a box, doesn't need a window or a blister. A dinghy with a bunch of cool accessories. And knowing Bobby, he'll make it a Steel Brigade dinghy or something, and then come out with an aquatic Steel Brigade, something like that. Yeah, but I would love that. A Zodiac with a little outboard motor that you can put a few troops in. That would be amazing. So there was a third retro card reveal. So we had Beachhead, we had Eel, and then we have. So the retro card is supposed to take a design that wasn't exactly like the original and make it original. And here he's got a completely different rifle. He's got Dusty's rifle, not an AK-47. 2 pistols that the Snow Serpent never had. Doesn't have the missile that he should have come with. It's like this.
I do like, if this wasn't a G.I. Joe figure, I'd probably think it was a little more impressive, objectively. Like I'd be at a dispassionate distance from it. I'm not sure why they like Lara Croft him out with the twin pistols. I don't recall an Ice Viper or Snow Serpent, ever having twin pistols.
They didn't have a single pistol on their legs.
Right.
I'm pretty certain they had really large like map pockets on the front.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure that it's a smart play for troop builders, because G.I. Joe Classified devotees, they, as you know, that they'll take every food pellet that Hasbro's willing to give them when they hit that feeder bar. So I'm sure that they'll troop build the hell out of these. But yeah, it doesn't really represent the original Snow Serpent all that well. He doesn't even have the mortar. He doesn't have the rocket.
That's what I was hoping for. The rocket on the bipod.
Yeah.
Attached to the side of the backpack. I was really hoping for that. But I know this is only a digital render, and product may vary, as it literally says at the bottom there. Final product may vary, and it wouldn't be the first time that the team have shown a digital render reveal, and then when we've actually seen the product, it has come with more. So there is still the possibility that it will come with a missile. I don't know, but that parachute pack is way, way, way too small.
Yes, it is, and I guess they modernized the snowshoes, which that's fine. Whatever, that's cool.
They're the ones that came with Snow Job. They just reused tooling.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh. Well,
which again doesn't really appeal to that retro carded thing, because the original Snow Job had skis, not ski shoes. Yep. Typically, soldiers don't carry both. You have one or the other.
Right.
It was cool that Snow Job came with some extra stuff, but now we don't get the proper retro look of the snowshoes that we know with the Snow Serpent. The old folded over tennis rackets that we used to get back in the day.
Well, fortunately, we'll get some super rubbery ones from Gridiron, probably, to replace those with.
ones that melt.
Yeah. Ones that melt. Yeah. Don't keep this on a windowsill. It'll melt.
It'll melt in the snow.
Yeah, after we charged you, $49.99 for them or whatever.
Yeah. Master Son 42 says the rifle is a FAMAS G36 hybrid, possibly. It's based on the FAMAS. I'm pretty sure that's the rifle that came with Dusty, which he had a FAMAS in the 80s, which famously it was the French military's primary assault rifle for their military for many years.
Is he saying possibly or POS?
I think the possibly part of it is when he's saying it's a hybrid between that and a G36. So a G36 is a more modern H&K assault rifle.
So he's not saying it's a piece of. He's saying it's he's using that for
possibly a hybrid,
right? Yeah. So not he's not saying that the FAMAS is a piece of. Okay.
Well, but you know what? It's Master Son. I can never tell. Master Son.
That's why I'm asking the question, because I'm like,
clarify your statement. What he's saying is I think there's a typo there. He's saying that's a FAMAS, Michael's a G6, and Tony's a POS. I don't know.
Well, either way, it's better than being carried by an action figure that looks like he has a soggy pancake on the top of his head. So that's good.
Yep. And it's wonderful that they gave him a pair of goggles when he's wearing a full face mask.
Yeah. That, you got to have options, right?
Yeah, you do. I'm going to catch up on some super chat. So Bradshaw Studios, thank you very much for the kind super sticker. Much appreciated. I've already read that one, but thank you again, Cosmic J. Clyde Dashing says, stop all the downloading. I don't know what you mean, but thank you for the super chat. Just Jeff says, I step away for 2 minutes and come back, and you two knuckleheads sully in the name of the best G.I. Joe ever. Shipwreck.
Well, to quote Ed O'Neill from Wayne's World 2, the world's a twisted place.
And the audience is going to hate me for this. I don't want to label every American with this, but I'm quickly learning by reading the comments section on Michael's Man-Child news video that the majority of Americans do not understand sarcasm.
Nope, they don't.
Yep.
They really don't. And
Yeah,
I also
there was one guy, like, almost immediately he was like, "Oh, so this is just a 3-minute video hating on Deadpool 3." And it's like, did you not find any of that funny?
yeah, and I didn't
And you love Deadpool.
Yeah, I love Deadpool. Like, Deadpool 2 is one of my favorite movies. I didn't say anything negative about Deadpool 3. I was literally asking questions as to what is Deadpool 3 up against, given that it's being produced by Disney under the current status of the MCU. Like, all I was doing was asking questions. I was not dogging on Deadpool 3. And yet people, guys, try to remind yourself of the difference between thinking and bitching. Because guess what? People now believe in the fanboy circle that just thinking is complaining. Not a good scenario for our community at all.
But actually, Michael, X-Men First Class was a good movie, and it didn't have Hugh Jackman.
But
within 10 minutes of your video being uploaded, there were 3 comments talking about First Class.
I knew they would. I don't care. See, the thing is also, though, Hugh Jackman is in the movie. He has a cameo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is one of the greatest cameos ever.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the thing.
It's one of my favorite cinematic moments of Wolverine.
And again, you only went to those movies because Hugh Jackman was in them. Everybody did. Even the people who are in the comments right now claiming that there's all these good X movies, blah, blah, blah. It's like you're watching it for Hugh Jackman, though. You're not watching it for Anna Paquin Rogue. You're not watching it for, any of that other crap. All those movies are very forgettable. The only thing we remember from them is Hugh Jackman. That's why he's in Deadpool 3. Like,
I will say for me, I did really like Michael Fassbender's Magneto.
Yeah.
But I couldn't even tell you the names of the rest of the actors in that.
That's my point. Sorry, go ahead.
McAvoy. I didn't think McAvoy was good as Professor X. Fassbender, and it wasn't every Fassbender performance. It was only the one in First Class that I really enjoyed.
Right.
It got watered down as it went along.
And that's the thing. I'm not saying that the actors that are in the X films are bad. I'm not saying that I'm saying that the X film direction, the X film strategy for Fox was hardly memorable. It was a lot of mediocre and full-on misses when it came to that series. It was a series that never found its footing. It never could figure out what it wanted to do. A lot of aborted projects and directions, like the Origins film series and stuff, that never went anywhere. Like, it was just a mess. And if you can't acknowledge that, I'll end this little missive with this. I don't think I've ever met someone who claimed to be a devoted Fox Studios X-Men movie fan who wasn't a boring rando. Like, oh, look, the world's most boring human. Like, I very rarely meet people who are like devoted Fox X-Men movie fans. And when I do run into them, when they complain at me on the internet, I'm like, oh, you must be a really dull date. Like,
Suka here says the X-Men movies, the ones that made Rogue's entire story arc about not being able to kiss her boyfriend.
Right.
And our friend Jeremy Kerr says, I must disagree. The only reason I watched them was because I was stupid and I thought they would be good.
Hey, and look, Jeremy, we all ended up watching them because we were all hoping that because they kept bringing back Hugh Jackman, that maybe the next one would finally stick the landing. You're not alone on that. But all of us with a brain can step back after all of it and go, that was a lot of useless experiences. Like,
yep.
And then there's just these outlier guys who are like, no, it's amazing. It's like, no, it's not. It's not.
KBA, thank you for the super chat. It says Cartoon Shipwreck wasn't really a sailor. He'd just been kicked out of a Village People tribute band.
Oof. Yeah. again, Larry Hama didn't create Shipwreck from everything I understand, and he used him one time appropriately in the comic as part of a mandate. And then after that, unless he was drawn in the background, I don't recall him really ever playing a role in the comic ever again. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
And Jeremy Kerr, thank you. He says, none of this even matters. I'll never see any of these retro carded figures at any store around me.
Thank you. Same. I'll never see them either. So what's the point? Yep.
So did they do a retro carded Lady J as well? They did, didn't they?
Oh, if you'd like one, I can go get you 20 right now. They've been sitting around for 6 months.
Oh, well, I have the first Lady J.
I'll put it this way: if you can find, meaning me, I mean the general you. If you can find one of those retro Lady J's with a good with good lip paint application, I think it's worlds better than the original release. Myself,
okay.
I found one stroke of luck. You know, a lot of them look like scare clown. A lot of them look like scare clowns though, because the paint masks don't land right. So
yeah.
I'm
not really worried. I'm probably going to be selling most of my G.I. Joe classifieds at the Collector's Own Toy and Hobby Fair next Saturday in Joondalup. If you're in Western Australia, come and say hello. Buy some cheap classified off me as well. I'll be. Yeah. I might even like go lower than Ollie's prices on some stuff that I'm selling.
Ooh, man.
I need to create space, Michael.
I understand.
Because I've got cool stuff that I've got no room for, and I've got a lot of crap stuff that I don't need.
I understand. You will be a legend at that show. People will, word of mouth will get around, and people will be, even people that've never seen your YouTube channel, they'll be running over there. I heard you were the guy that was selling like crack for cheap, you know, and you're like, yeah, I have it for pennies, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the plan. Okay, I think there's one more slide that they revealed today, which is not a retro card. The ferret with a newly created driver, female driver, whatever you call it, with a motocross helmet. Looks very much like the classic Cobra ferret. We're told it will seat 2 figures, that it's quite a wide, chunky ATV. I think I said I did a live stream quite some time ago where I was talking about vehicles that the Joe line could do that didn't need to be HasLabs. And I think the top 2, I can't remember what order they were in, were the Night Landing and the Ferret. The Polar Battle Bear, I think, would be a great vehicle as well. But
I don't, to quote Mr. Burns, I know what I hate, and I don't hate this. My only concern with this one, because it's a Hasbro vehicle, is the price. That's my issue. It's like, because the Vamp was way too expensive. The Vamp was my very first G.I. Joe vehicle growing up, and my very first G.I. Joe toy, anything. So I was like partly tempted to maybe, if they ever did a classified Vamp, to get one. And then they did, even though Clutch looks a little too aping Valaverse. I was still like, well, maybe. And then I saw the price and I was like, no, my interest was barely there anyway. And now it's gone. So,
and what was the price? Was it $100?
It was 100 or just over 100, something like that, if I recall. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jeremy Kerr, he's talking here about the ferret. It looks like $100 to me. If the Vamp and driver was 100, I think there's a lot less in this package because there was a lot of accessories with the Vamp. I would think this would be a little bit cheaper, maybe 80, but that's still not cheap for like this. You know, back in the day, I know this is scaled up to 6 inches, but the ferret was like, you know, it was a pocket money sized vehicle. It wasn't much more expensive. It was like the price of 2 figures. Yeah. Now, I don't know if Master Son 42 is had a misspelling here, but says would have been cool to have a working wench. Well, this ferret comes with a working wench. I think he's talking about the vamp with a working winch.
Yes, he's saying winch. Yeah, but these are the little
Yeah.
things that make life worth living. These little moments right here. Yeah. Soon, all of these moments will be gone, Tony, like tears in rain. Anyway, yeah. So this, I don't hate this combo. I just, I brace myself for the price. Yeah.
Yep. Well, that's all of the slides. Master Sun 42 says, Tony, you are horrible. LOL. Love it. Master Sun 42, I'm looking forward to sharing the screen with you again upon the series completion of my brain went blank. Masters of the Air.
Yep.
Masters of the Air.
And then I think to keep the momentum going on that, we will roll right into, after we're done with Masters of the Air, we'll get Conrad scheduled up and we'll do 1917, and then maybe like, it'll be our official War Story season 2 run. It'll just, so
absolutely.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
I'm wondering because when we did Band of Brothers, it's such a big show. We didn't do it in one episode. We did it in 3. Wondering if we might have to tackle the Masters of the Air the same way.
I think we might, because otherwise we won't be able to do it justice. It'll be too rushed. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I don't know how much I'm looking forward to everything I've just seen tonight. I feel educated, and I don't think that anything they've made is like a blight on humanity, but it's not going to make me lay awake at night. I'm not going to feel like my soul has a hole in it if I don't have any of those items, the trick of being a creator of luxury products is, as my uncle, who was a salesman for many years, when I was a kid, he told me this. He's like, as a salesperson, you are not supposed to be a need provider. You are supposed to be a want creator. And they didn't create any want for me with a lot of those. The closest they could have come was with Jinx, and they jinxed that up too. So, oh well.
I mean, full confession, I when the 260th anniversary figures were first announced towards the end of last year, I asked Ryan Laserpants immediately, like, could you pre-order them for me? That's not because I was super excited about the figures. It was because I saw a potential video there.
Right.
But what am I going to hang on now for 6 months and then find out that they're never going to do the Marine and the Pilot, and then that video I had in my head is not going to materialize? And I don't know.
It's kind of like ordering any series of waves from Super 7 Ultimates when they haven't shown you that they're going to make all the figures yet. If you're not sure, you really shouldn't jump into that pool yet, because it could get scattershot real quick. Yeah.
Oh, look, come on, cut them a break. They finally came out with Copper Kid.
Finally, in a sort of cartoon version, but he's also kind of sort of metallic, and it's like they've still not, for the people who prefer vac metal like myself, even though I wouldn't pay $65 for each figure. That's insane. But I'm watching it going, they've still only announced one vac metal wave and not any of the others. So that's not good. So
can you get Copper Kid on his own though, or have you got to buy him with that ridiculously overpriced vehicle?
You can get him on his own, thank God. Like,
okay.
Why would we, even if I was willing to spend $55 an action figure for cartoon accurate Primer Hawks, why would I want that hot rod racer thing when they've not put out the Mirage Jet, which would be too big at 7-inch scale for me to do anything with in my home anyway? It's like, So yeah.
Well, sir, that's all the slides. That was all the topic for tonight. I want to thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me.
Sure.
This has been a lot of fun. Thanks to everybody in the chat for being here as well. And Jason Anderson says they will speak of the day Tony walked in and did the great toy dump of 2024.
I want photos. I want photos. Maybe even some video clips.
There will be. So my dad's going to help me out on the day because I imagine, the last time, it was a long time. It's going back like more than 10, about 10 years since I last actually had a table at this fair selling stuff. But even the last time I attended a show like this in Australia was probably 6 years ago. And I got recognized by a couple of people, but my channel was a lot smaller then. I'm waiting to see kind of how my dad reacts if there are people there on the day who are, recognize me from YouTube. He's not really going to understand what's going on.
Right. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
That's very likely. I mean, like I said, when I was in Malvern for that toy show with Brent, like I was on the other side of the world, and before I got in the building, somebody stopped me on the pavement, and they were like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "Wow, this is interesting." So I can only imagine what you'll experience being known as your regional YouTuber. That's going to be cool. You have to remember a lot of anecdotes, so because I want to hear them. So
yeah, I know. There are a couple of people who reach out to me, quite often before these shows come up in Perth, asking if I'll be attending. And there's one guy, his name escapes me now, but I'm going to go back and find his message, where his son apparently really wants to meet me. And a week or so before every show, he's like, "Are you coming to this one? Are you coming to this one?" So I'm going to make sure to dig up that old message and message him back and go, "Well, I'm going to be at this one next week." So yeah.
I think if they can make it, that would make that kid's day. So,
well, I mean, if you live in Perth, it's like there's nothing's more than like a 45-minute drive away when you live in Perth. So it doesn't really matter. It's not like, it's a 3-4 hour drive for people. It won't be that far. So if you're in the surrounding suburbs of Perth, you'll be able to make it to Joondalup. So King Eric, the greatest of all, thank you for the super chat. Tony and Michael, I have a recommendation for war stories, comparing and contrasting the 3 film versions of All Quiet on the Western Front.
I mean, that's a big show. It's doable, but I would almost say that's a 2-parter. We could do it on a high level. So. Yeah. If we didn't get too deep, we could do it on a high level. It would almost be like a show where it's not so much about our overall opinions on the story at large. It would just be more like when people do those, compare the cuts kind of videos where it's like, okay, this one does this and this one does that. And yeah.
Thank you, King Eric. And on that note, we'll wrap it up there. Michael, there is a link to your fantastic YouTube channel in the video description below.
Thank you.
What have you got going on? Any final thoughts? Anything you want to plug before we leave?
Sure. I'm finishing up this next week. I'm finishing up a video called Widowmaker. It's about it's looking at Hasbro's baffling decision making through the vantage point of the evolution of the Scarlett Johansson Black Widow figures that came out across the line, and how upending it actually turns out to be. But I'll go into that in the video. Working on a video about the custom Timothy Dalton Living Daylights Aston Martin, the Lego build on that. I'm working on a video about the history of Lara Croft's twin pistols. I'm working on the Thundercats Redux. I'm still working my way through the episodes and taking notes. And I'm working on Top Gun versus Iron Eagle. And I'm working on starting this next week. I'm starting the process of getting the April Fool's video ready, the April 1st video ready for April 1st, April Fool's Day. So really excited about that too. So
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I actually yesterday I rewatched an older video of yours about all the Black Series Luke figures, the No Just Luke video.
Yep.
I kind of get the feeling that this Widowmaker video might be a bit like that.
Yeah, it's a companion piece to it, while also really talking about, because with that it's very evident that Hasbro on the Marvel side of things isn't consistently evolving and improving their products. They're doing it sometimes, and then they go 3 steps forward, and then sometimes they end up going 5 steps back, and you don't know why. It's like,
yeah,
this is the latest one, so why? And it's the one everybody wanted. Why did you phone this one in so badly? This was like it. So, and I go into a lot of the design stuff and things, because while I've been trying to kit bash the 2 ScarJos that I wanted, which was a good Winter Soldier and a good Age of Ultron, it's been an absolute labyrinth. And I've learned a lot about these figures that I never wanted to learn, because I've gotten so frustrated over the last few years. I've learned a lot about neck holes. Let me tell you that. A lot about neck holes. And a lot about, I've learned a lot of questions. I've asked a lot of questions with a lot of F-bomb expletives about why Hasbro has made decisions they've made about neck holes. So you'll see all that in the video. It'll be a good time had by all.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, my friend. Yeah. Thanks again for joining me. Thank you to everyone in the chat. And Michael and I will see you on the next video.
That's right.
See ya.